showtime.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Game 4 of NonY vs. Brat OK in the fourth place match of the Razer TSL. NonY just managed to barely win that last match with this interesting cheese transition into cheese again. And, I mean, NonY probably, as you said, Chill, is feeling a little bit more comfortable, and I think the one thing that NonY lacks is just comfort under immense pressure, such as, you know, this key fourth place match. Because, I mean, we saw in Draco, he did things like forget Storm and accidentally make too aggressive attacks, you know. So, I mean, I really think that we're going to get to see NonY be a lot more comfortable and play the game that he wants to play this time.
Yeah, for sure. We're used to, in the StarCraft world, seeing games that are like best of 3, and you don't really get a time to settle into the match, to figure out your opponent, and to kind of analyze the psychology of it. And it really does come into play. I mean, especially when $500 are on the line, there's a lot of people who are watching this game live. A lot of people are going to be analyzing it, analyzing you, and it can build up. All these things are in the back of your mind. So, I mean, getting that one win under your belt, that could really catapult NonY here back into a 3-2 victory.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that happen with best of 5s that we'll get a chance to talk about, since neither player is doing anything too weird at the start. I mean, I think statistically, in the OGN Star Leagues, there have only been, I believe, 3 or 4 instances where the player who lost the first game in the best of 5 managed to win the whole series. And that's a pretty remarkable statistic to note. I mean, winning that first game is just a huge momentum builder. So, I mean, NonY clearly up against the wall. He's getting back in the game a little bit, but, I mean, it's still a really difficult spot for NonY to be in. I mean, down 1-2 after he's just lost 0-3 to Draco, and now on a map that Brat is notoriously strong on.
And even bringing up the TSL since the round of 16, I don't want to throw out any incorrect stats, but the only game I can remember, or series, going to the player who lost the first game was Jianfei against Cloud. He lost the first game to a Dark Templar Rush and then took the second 2. Other than that, I think it's been pretty much the player winning the first game winning the series, so it's really important. Oh, I'm being reminded here, White Ra and Draco actually goes against that too. But, I mean, yeah, just as you said, statistically, getting that first game, so important. It builds your confidence, gives you a little breathing room so you can try different strategies, and just sets you up to win.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm definitely liking this opening by NonY. It's not as safe as some of his previous openings, and I think that, I mean, even though NonY is a really solid player, that does tend to be kind of the downfall of some players who are becoming much better and playing against stronger players, is just that you're used to playing against weaker players on ladders, where if you just play safe and aim to not lose, you'll win almost every time. But now NonY's opening with a really aggressive power 2-gate Dragoon build. We see that fast range and those 2 Dragoons popping out. Good opportunity to pressure.
Yeah, and just delaying that range, I mean, just as you said, it's really strong. And, I mean, what we saw against Jianfei, we saw Brat OK do a wall-in expand, and this 2-gate would be really strong against that. He'd be able to hammer on that wall with just a ton of Dragoons. But we see Brat's actually done the opposite this time. Just got a couple Marines out, and now floating his barracks out, and now he's looking, sending that SCV, probably going to be looking to expand pretty quickly. So kind of unfortunate for NonY that Brat is doing the opposite, and now even putting up a bunker just to be that much safer.
Yeah, I mean, even then, this is, again, one of those key illustrations of you don't actually have to attack your opponent in order to put pressure on him. NonY doesn't even have to continue making all these Dragoons, and he doesn't even have to attack at this point. However, we do see that Brat is clearly feeling the pressure because he's throwing down the Dragoons, he's building that extra supply depot right there at the front, no command center anywhere in sight, and look at this, NonY is going to be starting his expansion long before Brat started his, and that's a total turnaround from the first 2 games that we saw, where Brat was able to begin his command center long before NonY did, when NonY did this sort of fast, safe, range 1-gate build.
Yeah, for sure. And now with Dragoon range done, NonY begins hammering on the bunker. That's really annoying for Brat. He's forced to move up his tank, and it actually cannot hit the Dragoons, how they're positioned. That's really unfortunate. He's going to have to wait for siege or lift off his barracks. Now he's sieging back. I don't know if that is in range, so it's going to be hitting the Dragoons. Just a little bit of pressure is very nice. Forces your opponent on his back foot, and really sets NonY up nicely. But we can see Brat has an SCV actually in NonY's base, so he's scouting. He knows exactly where he's sitting. But I mean, NonY knows exactly what Brat's doing, so they're playing kind of a fully informed match. We're going to expect to see NonY either do some sort of tech rush to take advantage of Brat's fast expansion, or put up another Nexus. He's got to do one or the other to stay in this match.
Yeah, and I'm also glad that now the game's settling down a little bit, so we have a good opportunity to talk about a little bit of some of the more standard mid-game transitions that we're going to see. It's really typical to get 2 gateways and the expansion in some order, and then get the Reavers for the Protoss army. That's just a very sort of standard thing, because you can put pressure on your Terran opponent by getting those Reavers. Obviously, if you get some shots off with the Reaver, that's fine, against SCVs, that is, but additionally, it allows for a really safe third expansion. When you take it, if you build some pylons in good positions to maybe wall off for some vulture harass, the Reaver is really good at just absolutely denying that vulture harass, and also helping in case Brat OK decides to do some sort of fast push.
We've got robotics facility out now. The observatory is going up for NonY. He still hasn't really shown that he's leaning one way or the other. Is he going to be trying to get some sort of tech in the mid game, or is he going to try to take a third base? He's got to do something. I mean, the longer he stays at a similar base to the Terran player, that's just going to add up to more problems for him in the mid game. Protoss does need to typically stay one base ahead of the Terran opponent. And it looks like Brat's decided to move out with just 2 vultures. The vulture speed upgrade is coming, but he doesn't have mines on those vultures. So those are probably not going to be too effective, just looking around for expansions.
Yeah, he's just going to check out what's going on. I don't think there's anything too bad with that play. I like that. And we do see that Brat OK is playing nice and safe. He's getting that comsat decently quickly. And he's getting that armory, so it does look like he's going to be doing a little bit more of a muscle-type build. And I'm a little surprised that we're not seeing any sort of Reaver from NonY, and we don't really see any sort of extra expansion. We do see more observers being pumped out at the robotics facility, so I don't think we're going to see Reavers anytime soon. Just those 4 gates right now.
It could be possible that NonY realizes Brat does like to do that kind of mid-game push, take the terrain, and sit there and then use that to press his advantage into the Protoss base. Maybe he thinks he just wants to sit on 2 bases, trick Brat OK into moving out through the mid game, and then just crush him with a bigger army than he should. We see NonY's actually got 4 gateways now, which is kind of surprising from a standard Protoss play. If Brat moves out too early, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's going to be fighting a lot more units than he normally would had the Protoss expanded. But Brat's got those 2 vultures out. He's basically scouted every base that makes sense for NonY to take. So he really knows in the back of his head that NonY is just massing units on 2 bases.
Yeah, this is kind of a cute play by Brat OK. By being able to scout around with all these vultures, he knows whether or not he can push. I mean, we do see Brat kind of setting up for a push, but the timing of it depends entirely on whether or not NonY does end up taking that expansion quickly or not. Because if he does take the expansion quickly, he immediately knows that NonY is low on units, and then he can therefore push immediately. That said, I'm not sure I like NonY's play by adding those 4 gateways and getting the Zealot leg speed. I'd prefer to maybe stick with 4 or 5 gateways and just get a shuttle with a handful of slow Zealots and then just a lot of Dragoons, because the map is so open that the Dragoons are really effective. And by doing that sort of style, you can take the 3rd expansion a little bit more quickly.
Well, if I remember back to the TSL White Raw playing against Idra, White Raw actually closed out the series on Zodiac by doing this exact build. He delayed his 3rd expansion, and then Idra pushed out kind of at a normal timing. And by the time he realized that, oh, White Raw is actually on 2 bases and he's got Zealot leg speed, he just got run over by a massive Protoss army. So if Brat OK is not careful, that's going to be a repeat in this game. We see a bunch of Zealots out, more are making in the gateways, and Zealot leg speed is about to complete. But we see Brat is not moving out. He realizes something is up. He's making a 5th and 6th gateway, or excuse me, factory. So, NonY's actually decided to expand. He's putting down a pylon at 6 o'clock, realizing he's got to do something because this is not going to work. Brat is not going to push out until he's forced to.
Yes, Brat OK, looking like the tiger who is ready to pounce all game long. He made the factory, got the second factory, and then scouting around and is beginning to find out when he can push. A lot of Terran players go into autopilot and they just say, oh, well, when I have this much resources mined or this far into the game, I'm just going to attack. Brat didn't do that, and that's so key. He was ready to do an aggressive 2-factory push, but as he's scouting around, he's not seeing any expansions, and immediately Brat knows that he shouldn't attack because NonY, although he's going to have more units in the mid-game, he's going to have fewer units in the late game because that third expansion is delayed. So that is going to be the time for Brat to push. We see Brat setting himself up and now just taking his own third expansion.
Yeah, so Brat keeping pace in terms of expansions, but if we look at the disparity in supply, I mean, Brat OK sitting at 88, NonY sitting at 123, so he's just got a monstrous army at this point. Brat's going to have to be careful. If NonY decides to move in, especially with those speedy zealots and the vultures out of position, he's going to be in trouble, but the mines cleared reveal to Brat that NonY is deciding to, or thinking about moving in, and now he's just posturing up on the high ground. Is he going to move in?
Oh, here he comes, the first attack coming in, taking out the mines, and a lot of speed zealots in the back for NonY, and not too many vultures for Brat OK. He's moving in, spreading out those the zealots in a beautiful manner, but he lands the barracks, a brilliant play. But now all the Protoss units are sweeping around those tanks, and they are just going to melt under this massive mid-game army.
Wow, I mean, Brat OK just basically gets steamrolled. All the things we talked about him doing right, and still the Protoss just moves in, says, forget that, I'm just going to finish this. Moving in, Brat OK desperately trying to lay mines. That's going to pick up the Zealots, but there's still these 4 Dragoons working on the bunker, taking out the bunker. Now the Vulture's trying to run in, lay aggressive mines. NonY just flooding in units, reinforcements, 5 more Dragoons coming in. Looks like Brat OK may hold, actually, but he's got a very Vulture-heavy army, and NonY is reinforcing with Dragoons, so this could be big trouble if Brat OK is not careful.
Yeah, but he does have that engineering bay and that barracks right there, so he can land both of those and make a nice little wall for himself. He is spreading them out. Let's see if he does plan them down to be a little bit more defensive. So nothing going on right now. NonY is moving around a little bit, trying to see if he can get in another good spot, taking out some of those mines. Oh, and NonY's moving in again!
Looks like he's trying to mine drag. The mine goes up, kills a ton of vultures, kills a tank. NonY getting a very good mine draw, killing that mine. Wow, what targeting. Now he's going to work on the tank, and now the vultures are going to go down very quickly. Trying to lay mines, those are going to splash each other, and it looks like he's going to hold this off. NonY is still bringing in reinforcements, bringing in zealots. In the meanwhile, he tried to send a probe to bottom right to expand, but there was a vulture there. You can see it's got a kill. That's a probe kill, and that just delays NonY's expansion. We can see the 1,200 minerals NonY has. He really needs that expansion, but there's a mine at every expansion. He's got to take some time, set up some units to clear it, but it looks like NonY is just set on ending this game, bringing in more units again and again, and Brat just on the edge of defeat, really trying to set back up and just get a position.
Yeah, I mean, even though that was a really great break by NonY, and that really put a ton of pressure on Brat OK, this is actually an excellent position for Brat OK. Because NonY didn't get that third expansion very quickly, by losing an army of that size, we know that NonY's army is not very big and is going to remain not very big for quite some time. So although Brat OK seems to be low on unit count, he's really in a lot better shape. I mean, we see 104 food for NonY and 90 for Brat OK. And it looks like NonY's going to be moving around towards this expansion.
Just going to work on some vultures. Brat OK has to get some tanks over there to help defend. Of course, vultures doing terribly against dragoons unless they lay the mines. Brat bringing in tanks to help supplement that, and it looks like he's going to be able to hold that off fairly easily. Just going into production mode. Meanwhile, NonY adding a forge, adding cannons at this bottom right double gas expansion. That's going to add a lot of gas to his resources. If he decides to add some sort of Templar tech or arbiters, it'll just be really nice getting that double gas very quickly. And I mean, look at all the patches that are at those bases, just a ridiculous amount of minerals. That's really going to help out NonY to get back in this game.
Yeah, I'm really liking the way NonY is playing this. He knows that his mid-game army is not going to be very big, and he's doing what we've been talking about all match long, just putting pressure on your opponent without actually attacking. He's positioning these dragoons, just taking out a few SCVs. And I mean, look at Brat. He just has mines thrown down everywhere, and vultures are constantly running around. Brat's minerals, just a few seconds ago, are hanging up at around 1,000. Meanwhile, NonY's minerals are staying almost at nothing. NonY's doing a great job of expanding, putting pressure on, and upgrading. So this is really, really well played by NonY.
Yeah, for sure. And if we take a look at the production facilities, Brad OK has 8 factories and NonY has 8 gateways, and that's not a position you typically want to be in as Protoss. You want to have a lot more gateways than Terran has factories. Brad OK moving around with a couple vultures now, just laying mines.
Oh my god! Right in the middle of the map, NonY accidentally walked right into a huge patch of minefields, losing 4 zealots and 2 dragoons, or excuse me, 1 dragoon.
Wow, apparently I totally missed that, but looks like NonY is posturing forward again. Is he going to move in? Brat's army is sitting here. This looks like this would be a bad place to attack. NonY just getting his troops ready. Brad OK is moving in with a few vultures. Of course, we can see there's cannons everywhere and an army at the natural of NonY, so that looks pretty safe. But he is laying a minefield in the path that NonY would want to move out, and just really nice play by Brad getting those mines. Those are really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, great play by Brat throwing down those mines so that way his opponent can't reinforce his army, but equally good play by NonY by positioning his huge army right in the middle there. We saw Brat unsiege and get a little bit nervous, and that's just a great thing to do when you're when you want to be expanding as much as NonY is. We do see that pro moving over from NonY to the right side of the map to begin expanding.
And here comes Brad OK shifting his army towards the left. NonY deciding to move in with just a portion of his army. The rest of his army was at the bottom left, and this portion just gets basically cut up. NonY does have the high ground, so when he decides to reinforce, it'll be that much nicer, but the vultures in front. Brad OK has a great position here. NonY's army is just getting cut up, and it looks like he's going to retreat. Good idea, and Brad OK decides to unsiege. Looks like he's just going to continue this attack.
Yeah, that was a little bit odd by NonY that he just decided to attack that with... He first attacked with just his zealots, and then all his dragoons came in for reinforcements, so I mean that was a little bit sloppy, but of course NonY's macro just so strong. 9 gateways out now. We see the +1 upgrades going down for NonY as well. So I mean NonY, even though Brad is getting right up closer towards this expansion, NonY still does have a ton of units and might be going for a counterattack now.
Yeah, it looks like Brad has cut off the expansion, the bottom left expansion. Looks like NonY decides, forget that, I'm just going to move in. He moves in trying to clear the mines with the dragoons, and then move in with the other half of his army. Brad OK has a lot of reinforcements funneling out here, and it looks like bottom left is going to fall just to tank fire from the cliff. Really unfortunate for NonY, and he decides to move in. Not a lot of zealots, so it's going to be really hard for him to crack this. But looks like he's moving in regardless. Only a few vultures and tanks here for Brad. The zealots now drag a mine. That kills a few vultures. And now the zealots up against the tanks. NonY positioning his army forward, running a few dragoons in to draw tank fire. And it looks like he's going to be able to push in. A mine goes off, killing a ton of units of Brad. And it looks like the Protoss NonY is moving into the natural of Brad.
But look at this. Brad has cleverly unsieged all the rest of his tanks, stopped attacking this left expansion, and is now pulling back towards his main. And what was originally NonY moving aggressively into Brat's main is now Brat just cleaning up and trapping those dragoons and leaving just a really awful taste in NonY's mouth.
Yeah, really unfortunate. Brad showing some good game sense there, knowing that he can't continue to push. He's got to come back and defend. And now those 2 tanks still going to work on that Nexus. That's going to fall unless NonY can deal with it. And some vultures raiding. Looks like they scouted the bottom right but did not move in. He's laying a minefield now. NonY coming in to clean up, and he is going to be able to mine from that bottom left. So he's going to save the Nexus, which is just so key. I mean, if he lost the Nexus, the game would be all but over. But as is, he's still in a fairly decent position in this game.
Actually, I'm quite surprised. I thought that attack was going to be a lot better for Brad OK, but it looks like NonY's in a great position. He saved his expansion. NonY catches some lone tanks in the middle of the map. The vultures are away, and those tanks are unsieged. Really gross position. But these tanks are now coming in. NonY is going to have to pull back. NonY should pull back. NonY needs to pull back, but instead NonY sits there and lets his zealot army get burned. We do see some more reinforcements coming, but I'm not sure if it'll be able to break this.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to get cleaned up as these vultures reinforcing just at the perfect time. The zealots actually doing a good job of running right into the tanks, but Brad doing a good job of actually targeting the zealots. So I mean, a little back and forth here, and both the armies basically trading. I think Brad got the better of it, but NonY sitting at 113, Brad sitting at about 100. So I mean, for all intents and purposes, we are sitting even, and NonY did kind of steal that bottom right expansion in the meantime, whereas Brad got the top right double gas, or top left double gas, excuse me. So we're sitting at 5 bases against 4. It's looking pretty even.
Yeah, and we see some more center clashes coming in. A Dragoon heavy army for NonY, but NonY is smart and pulls everything back. Still only 9 gateways. for NonY. And this is another important thing to note. Brat doesn't have a starport or a science facility anywhere in sight. Brat does have those 1-1 upgrades, but NonY is going to start to pull ahead. He has 2-1 upgrades already with the +1 attack on the way. But now Brat in a great position to take out the center gas expansion.
Yeah, we haven't seen NonY add anything from his Templar archives, actually. He hasn't got High Templar or Dark Templar. We can see he's got High Templar out now. I don't know if Psionic Storm is researched. I've got to imagine it is. But Brat just having great position on the center. NonY looks like he wants to break through, but I mean, it's so hard to attack a Terran that's already set up. You typically want to attack them when they're unsieging, sieging, out of position. But in this position, NonY decides to just give up that double gas. Very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, and it looks like NonY does want to start taking this bottom right expansion, but again, Brat is so good about planting those mines at those expansion. And we do see that Brat is trying to do a little bit of pressure at this right expansion. This is so key. If Brat can break this, he wins the game. And NonY right up against the wall needs to hold off this attack and do some brilliant storms.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, huge storm goes up, hitting 2 tanks and a couple vultures. And now the Zealots get in though. Oh my god, storms going off everywhere. All the tanks just melt. Brat's army melts, and NonY holds on to that very nicely. Look at the supplies, they were even going in. Now Brat is facing a deficit of 20. NonY reclaiming the game with Psionic Storm. Brat still has great position on the high ground, but NonY bought himself some time at this point in this game.
Yeah, we see those Dark Templars running up to get those 4 tanks that are beautifully positioned at the back. A scan goes off, does take out the Dark Templar, and Brat, even though he did lose a big portion of that army, still does have the hold of that high ground region. He's up on top of that ramp, and Brat is going to continue to push down here. Brat looking really good, taking that top left expansion, and somehow, I think some SCVs were killed off it. Brat's second natural expansion, he only looks like he has 5 or 6 SCVs mining there.
And oh, Dark Templar taking out a single tank in the center. Brat is really looking to just split this map in half, control the high ground, and that really limits NonY's options. He still hasn't found enough time to take bottom left, and this death push that's rolling towards bottom right, or excuse me, he hasn't found time to take the bottom right main. Looks like Brat is just going to keep rolling down this ramp, and having the high ground, I mean, it's very difficult for NonY to deal with. He's going to have to either counter or get some further tech, get some great storms, pull something magical to deal with this.
Yeah, and I mean, I still really dislike the fact that NonY hasn't been able to take that bottom right expansion yet. I mean, that's just such a key thing to do that NonY really needed to have sent a Zealot or Dragoon to take out that mine. That probe has been sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes now.
And something to mention, I mean, Brat has no Goliaths, no turrets in his push, so Zealot bombs would really be effective, but it looks like NonY has basically gone into just huge macro mode. He's been just pumping basic units for quite a while now, and really hasn't found the time to get a shuttle to bomb those. That would really help him out. Looks like he's decided to give up bottom right and just move into the center. Is this going to pay off? I don't think he'll be able to deal with Brat Okay's reinforcements, but we're going to have to find out.
Yeah, I mean, if NonY can manage to take out the center expansion and the top left, that would be a great position to be in. However, NonY looking really low on minerals. He only has about 200 to 300 on each of the mineral patches at his second nat, and that Nexus does fall at the 4 o'clock base, and a handful of probes are dying to this lone tank fire. About 9 probes are down. And we do see this push moving forward, and Brat immediately lifts that command center and pulls back.
Yeah, Brat is just so quick with unsieging those tanks and getting them back in position. I mean, he seems to somehow have some sort of movement upgrade for his tanks. By the time Protoss gets there, he's already there with his tanks in position. It's just incredible to watch, and we can see NonY has got an observer top left. He's moving in, he's going to kill all these SCVs, and the command center, he's just got to be careful that he doesn't get trapped in there. He's moving with his entire army. If Brat Okay cuts off the exit, that is going to be absolutely devastating for NonY.
Oh, and NonY does notice this. He is pulling back. And still, oh, let's see if we can get some good storms off here from NonY. Oh my god, Brat Okay's army is just enormous. Both players sitting at about 160 food, 150 food. This is going to be the key game-deciding battle right here.
And here we go, the Zealots running straight in, the Vultures out of position. Our storm's going to go off. We need to see some storms. Huge storm going up on a bunch of tanks, hitting about 4 tanks. But look at the Dragoons just melting under the will of Brat Okay, under the tank fire. And NonY definitely getting the worst of that. He's down now under 100 food. Brat Okay still sitting at 130. Is there anything NonY can do at this point?
Really, I mean, Brat Okay got in that battle at just the perfect position. Now all Brat needs to do is walk straight south, take out this expansion, and push right into NonY's main. I mean, honestly, in the words of Chill, that's all she wrote for NonY.
NonY putting up a great fight so far, but Bradokay just seems to be everywhere he needs to be. His army seems to just teleport from one position to another. I'm looking at NonY's army flanking around, and then I look and Bradokay's army is already there. So looks like Brad is just deciding to play it safe. He's going to reestablish top left. He's going to reestablish his double gas at top left, and then he's going to just roll in and try to crush NonY. I mean, NonY's still not giving up, and there it is. There it is, GG.
GG.
NonY concedes. NonY losing to Bradokay, Brat taking it in a 3-1 victory. What incredible play by this monster Russian Terran.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I mean, I was really quite pleased with that last game. I really felt like we got to see NonY in his true form there. And that's one thing that's really important to note about NonY's play, is it doesn't really have some sort of general weakness or anything with it. The only way I really see NonY lose is if he makes a handful of significant blunders in the game. And I think one of the biggest ones was that he just didn't take that bottom right expansion in time. And there was maybe 1 or 2 attacks right in the middle that I feel like NonY could have rethought.
It was a very interesting game, and what a series. I mean, back and forth. A lot of great moments from there. But congratulations to Bradokay. He's going to walk out of this TSL in 3rd place. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you're looking at the number 3 foreigner in the world at this point, Bradokay. We're going to see him back in TSL 2 in the round of 16, and I'm really looking forward to what this guy can get done when he has that much time to practice and just get back in form. And we're not saying goodbye to NonY yet. We're going to see him in the TSL 2 in the qualifying stage, round 1. He's going to walk out of here in 4th place with $500, and just an incredible effort by both players. And I mean, that's not all we've got for the TSL. We still have our monstrous finals. That's going to take place tomorrow at the same time, 4:30 Eastern time. And that is going to be between the ex-Korean pro gamer, the Polish Protoss, Draco, and the up-and-coming youngster, Jian Fei, the Canadian Protoss. That's just going to be a monstrous series.
Yeah, I mean, both players are just absolute monsters. I mean, Draco is just so well known for his just incredible play. I mean, just even from several years ago, he was just dominating several extremely well-known Korean players on PG Tour right up through his success in Korea. And we have Jian Fei, who's even showed some great flair in the PGL in China, and just throughout the TSL. I mean, especially with his reverb control, is just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm just really excited to just see these two players clash, because they have such exceptional style.
Yeah, and I mean, the last thing I want to mention, a lot of people saying they're disappointed at a Protoss versus Protoss final. My final plea to you is, if you haven't seen these two players play, they're just ridiculous, and their styles are very different. So I mean, although it is a mirror matchup, you're going to see a lot of thrust and parry tactics, a lot of different opening build orders, and I think it's just going to be an incredible finale to this long-running 2-month TSL league. So I mean, thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Of course, tune in tomorrow for the finals. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable, and we'll see you then.
Take care, everyone. Remember, $3,000 on the line, and all the glory from the foreign StarCraft community. Thanks for tuning in.
So take my hand.